one of the issues that I've been talking about on a regular basis is the unfortunate reality that I find myself in, to where Muslim women are afraid of me for trying to introduce them to my podcast. And it's really messed up because I'm talking more about issues that happen to them and women in general, but yet they're afraid of me. But yet they trust bad men. That's why we're in the mess that we're in. We're in a dangerous situation. We're on the cusp of major things taking place, people being rounded up, and it doesn't matter what year it is. It doesn't matter what month it is. Okay, I try to introduce myself and give somebody my podcast, and they're like afraid of me. Okay, so there's something going on with these people that isn't quite right. There's something going on that's really upsetting. You know, I know I'm not like looking the part. You know, I know I'm short. I know I don't have a beard. I know that I'm, you know, breaking their like Islamic law, but they're at Walmart where they sell alcohol, right? And they sell pork. And I understand like they're just wanting to be alone, but like I'm just trying to give out my podcast and talk about how the things that are happening now, I talked about years ago. I warned about years ago. God gave me information. God gave me knowledge, right? And they step away from me. So there is something, my feelings are hurt, but I'm going to get right to the point. There is something not quite right with that ideology. That doesn't make them terrorists, but it makes them ignorant, right? Because I can't help them. I can't help them with knowledge if they're going to have a bias against me, that it is haram or that it is a violation of their religion if they were to hear out what I'm saying. There's no kinship with Palestinians. I'd like to, right, have some kinship with them. Haven't really seen the males or met the males. I only see women, which is the opposite. It is the opposite. Again, we're seeing the opposite of what the right-wingers are saying. I don't see any Arabic men. I only see women. Only women. There are no men. It's like they're in a dungeon somewhere, you know? Like, only women. Only women. So there are so many ways in which, like, we've been lied to about them. And then you got to, like, wonder, like, what type of lies they believe. I'm all about, like, respecting religious freedom, but there are, like, major shortcomings, major things that they're overlooking that are in that worldview. It is not okay for them, in their mind, to consider what I'm saying, but I don't know if that's consistent with their behavior. Are they really not at all listening to the radio? Are they really not at all looking at the news? Are they really not at all ever going on the internet? Or are playing video games? Because that's an Amish thing. That's an Amish thing, I believe, to not be on technology. Whereas many Muslims, they are on technology, they are on Facebook, and these are social media platforms, right, that are against them and their freedom. So what are we really dealing with? Are we really dealing with a person of faith, or are we dealing with, like, basically a typical woman, a typical white woman? So it's really sad and it's really telling that I can talk about issues that affect people, affect all kinds of people, but because of my natural energy, they step away because it's too much for them, and they just think that I'm crazy because I have passion, right? So I've been sitting here like defending Muslims my whole life, or at least ever since I began to speak into the microphone and upload myself to the internet. So about half my life, because I'm 46 now. And Muslim women have never liked me. And they should like me at least as a big brother or a friend or as a podcaster. They don't have to see me as a threatening male or whether or not I'm a partner to them. If they're able to listen to other podcasts, if they're able to go to stores, you know, and my ancestry relates to Islam. You know, I'm not Muslim, but, you know, but it is in my blood to be of those people. And that everybody of that blood is going to be affected by the future events. So when we talk about women being selfish, when we talk about women being manipulated by the devil, when we talk about women being manipulated by mind control, we talk about women being manipulated by the media, by social media, we're not just talking about American women or black women or Hispanic women. We're talking about all women. All women right now. Unfortunately for them, some men take things too far when it comes to controlling women, but I can see why some people reached some belief systems in the past, right, that women are not to have certain things, and it's because of the unconsciousness. But the men have to be, conscious if they're to do something better, because ultimately, in some cases, women are the only saving grace for me. Like in my lifetime, it's a woman, not a man, but it's a woman who helped me get out of where I was. It was a woman who helped me get out of Portland, Oregon in 2015 when she donated about $5,000, and that money later went to a down payment on my property that I used to own in Colorado before I was targeted. It was a woman in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, who helped me get an apartment at the time in Durango. So there have been some women that have been compassionate to me. They've all been pale-skinned. None of them have been brown. And that's not to say that I believe that one group is better than the other. It's that when I am condemning white supremacy, when I am criticizing white women, or when I'm going down that road in general, I have to remember the time and times in which they have had my back. And I need to talk to women about this issue right now that are listening to me, so that they understand that I have a heart of gold, that I do appreciate the women that have helped me. And it may be a continuation of that pattern if I am to receive help again in the future, that it may again come from a woman or women or a group of women. And that would be nice. That would be pleasant. But I have to go through a lot of judgmental women of various racial backgrounds in order to find that. And whether I'm on the internet trying to speak to them about these issues, or whether it's in person, there's a sense of rejection and letdown. I gotta say, to anybody who's listening who's ethnic, who's Muslim, you really need to, hear out what I'm saying. There's a major blind spot taking place. And then, of course, you have the lies about Muslims that are spread on a regular basis, the calls for violence, and I'm doing my part to push back against that and to be like a voice of reason to people that are, either Palestinian, immigrant, Muslim, something to that effect, right? The people that are going to be most affected by some of these things, also including American white women that aren't Muslims. It's very important that they hear what I have to say, because if they don't hear what I'm saying, what's the point of the podcast? How am I helping? How am I effectively helping? So it's not about narcissism when I'm trying to get listeners to my website. I'm actually trying to help. If I was to leave a card, if I was to leave a book or something, they would likely throw it in the garbage and walk away from it. So I'm not actually on board a belief system that the Quran, or any book for that matter, is the only book that they need. I believe that humans on this planet need my knowledge and information. They need my wisdom. They need my teachings. They need to hear out my predictions. But right now, in 2026, on the heels of the 2025 mass demonic possession that we've seen, there's something wrong with people right now. It's where they can't hear me. They can't see me. They can't perceive that this information is valuable. In the same way that you have a lot of people wearing masks, they're wearing masks to distance themselves from even knowing anybody, right? They got the mask on to keep people away because they don't want to be looked at. They got a mask on when there are no significant illnesses taking place. There's always the constant bombardment from the media. So the point is that even though they have a hijab, and it's about having a form of protection against evil, they're also protecting themselves hiding themselves, shielding themselves from knowledge. Okay, and it's hypocritical for them to be like, okay, the Quran is the only book, but then wait over here, we're going to look at this book that relates to like this particular class, you know, this particular course in college, right? Going to chase money, going to chase this, and filling themselves in with something that's not Islamic, that's just about chasing money. You have a lot of Muslims in America, they're like all about, you know, just that, and just reading the book, when they have immersed themselves greatly with the system and with the worship of money. You know, and I've seen it in my father, I've seen it in my relatives, you know, and so how does somebody like, how does somebody bounce back from this type of rejection? I will continue to speak about these issues, but I need to come to terms with the fact that this rejection that I'm experiencing in this lifetime from these people and from all these women, it is systemic. And it may not go away anytime soon. No matter what happens, no matter what's in the news, they're under a deep, dark programming to never talk to me. And while that's taking place, I see them with, often, tall white men at the market. I never see them with an Arab man. You know what I mean? And so there is a dark side to Islam. There is a dark side to the Orthodox Islamic path that I talk about that's completely different in context than the mainstream Islamophobes. And I've seen the police force come against me for trying to introduce my podcast to a Muslim woman and warn her about the future. I was attacked, and I was called anti-Muslim, anti-God, anti-all these things for trying to tell them what's taking place. So anybody who might sound prophetic, anybody who might be sounding like they care about people, right? There's just a lot of unnecessary judgment in the society, which I am here to call out.